the globe, I'm delighted to say, to the launch of our recently established entity, the Payments Academy. A little bit of background on us and what's going to happen today. Let me first of all say a thank you to my colleagues, Andy Collishaw, John Doyle, and Mattia Parati for their assistance and working very hard to pull this webinar together. The Payments Academy is very much an educational forum. Its purpose, ladies and gentlemen, is to enable all industry participants to come together, to learn more, refresh what they know, learn more about what they don't know, and ultimately provide a link between the industry, the payments industry, the technical input that the industry now is well ensconced within, and academy. So not just simply courses, but courses offered at a very sophisticated level. And so we hope that as the academy rolls out more courses, that you will join and take part in those courses. One thing I can say is that the Academy will allow all participants, whether they're authors and presenters or whether they are attendees to each of the courses, a wonderful networking opportunity, both from a personal perspective, but obviously as regard a professional perspective as well. Let me just say this, from a personal perspective, I've been in the industry a number of years, and the older I become, the more I try to learn, but I often find the less I actually understand. I'm determined with my colleagues to turn that around through the Academy, given some excellent speakers and presenters, of which we have 4 here today. And let me tell you who they are. We have our first speaker is Jean-Paul, and he will be speaking on payment fundamentals. Jean-Paul is an author of a well-known acclaimed book on the SEPA credit transfer, and his key aim is to help many people in the industry understand the payments environment and the ability to actually implement the payment systems, which are getting more complicated as we move on and develop through interoperability and more connectivity. I would also like to introduce Simon Lyons. Simon will be our second speaker. Simon is head of ecosystems engagement and open banking. Simon has spoken with us before, so delight to have you again, Simon. And he will be speaking just about open banking and the whole element of commercial engagement and market awareness of what this incredible initiative started, I think, 2013, has now offered the industry. Our third speaker this afternoon, I actually met a good 3 or 4 years ago and was incredibly impressed by him. This is Matthew Key. Matthew speaks on biometrics, and he also spoke to us at our previous webinar. He has an extensive career in emerging technology over the last 15 years, very much focused on innovation, financial services. He is a well-known blogger, a well-known speaker. I met him at a conference myself, as I say, and a media commentator. So, as I say, he'll be speaking about security in the biometrics environment. So, great to see you again, Simon. I do beg your pardon, Matthew, I do beg your pardon, and look forward to hearing what you have to say. Our final speaker is a charming lady, Hilary Smith-Allen. I hope I get this correct, Hilary. You are an executive lead for the UK's only professional services tech super cluster environment. I hope I've got that right. It all sounds incredibly technical, far above my level, but in all seriousness, ladies and gentlemen, having spoken to Hilary, we are very, very fortunate in having her, and she will be talking about skills and the educational element of payments and the need for that in the wider commercial and financial industry. So before I devolve to our first speaker, Jean-Paul, let me just say this. Please feel free to click on the chat button at the bottom of your screen if you have any questions. Just before we go to the questions, and once the four speakers have finished, we will be going to John Doyle, who is our Chief Executive of the sister organisation, the Payments Business. John will be walking through the website and platform of the Academy for those people who decide to join and wish to use it, etc., etc. So we greatly look forward to that. And I will then open the floor to questions and answers that we will go through up to probably 5. We may run over a little bit. You're welcome to stay and ask further questions. The main thing is to get as much benefit from what we're going to say and ideally understand the launch, why we're doing it, and the real value to the audience and to the community. I think that's probably enough from me. I now have the pleasure of handing over to our first panelist and speaker. Each speaker will speak for 5 minutes. And Jean-Paul, as I say, will speak now on payment fundamentals. Jean-Paul, delighted to welcome you and looking forward now to hearing your brief presentation. Thank you, Jean-Paul.
Thank you very much, Elliot, for the introduction. And thank you for having me. I'm John Paul, and I have over 16 years of experience in banking and payments. And as Elliot said, I'm author of an acclaimed book on the SEPA credit transfer, which is a domestic payment scheme in Europe. And also with the Payments Academy, we worked on the payments fundamental course. And you may ask yourself, why did we start with that? Why did we start with the payments fundamental course? Well, simply because we want you to build your payment skills on the rock, on very strong foundations. When change is a constant, foundations become even more crucial. And change is certainly a constant in the payment industry. New payments methods, open banking and PSD2, analytics and artificial intelligence, ISO 20022, and the SWIFT MT to MX migration, just to cite a few. You will agree with me that there's a lot going on in the payment space. But this may surprise you. Things in payment, many things in payments have not changed since decades. Payment system models are still the same. Clearing is still the same. Settlement work the same way. Domestic and international payments work with the same principles. And the payment value change has not changed that much. And these are things that many struggle with in the industry. And unless we really understand those things, it is difficult to understand the industry and the impacts that all the changes I mentioned before are bringing. And to show you how important training is, I want to talk about my own case. It took me around 4 to 5 years to put the puzzle together for the foundations. And you may think that it's a pretty long time. I will agree with you, but my case really shows how essential training is. Knowledge is power, as you know, we sometimes hear, and we should never underestimate knowledge, how how little it may seem to be. When I tell my story in general, people pretend that it is too long, and I always cite 2 examples. Please allow me to do it here today. And those examples really illustrate the importance of training and guidance. The first one is the combination door lock, right? How long does it take to open a door that is equipped with such a combination? Well, it depends. If you know the combination, you can open the door in seconds, but someone has to tell you. And if you don't know it, well, you may spend hours, months, and even years, and you may still not be able to open the door. So knowing the combination may seem nothing, but it's really a power that can even save life in extreme emergency situations. And the second example, I really like that one also, is about the laws of physics. Let's consider Newton's laws of universal gravitation, revealed in his book, The Principia, published in 1687. Today in school, it is taught in very few hours, but it took centuries and many scientists who worked with passion and passion to get there. And so we understand that without training and guidance, we may need much more time than necessary to become a subject matter expert. And the Payments Academy's Payment Fundamental course was created to help you save time and money and avoid frustration. It is the course to build your payment house on the rock, so to say. We took time to prepare that course. We are payments professionals, and still we spoke to hundreds of other payment professionals because we did not want to assume things. We wanted to understand what really matters to them and what they struggle with. And so we designed that course to address all the key issues and concerns. And the result is just fantastic. Really, we truly love it. The Payment Fundamental course consists of 11 modules. 11 modules, and later we will work you when we will, when John will present the website, you will see the content, you will see the module. It's incredibly rich, and it can help you to save many months, even many years in the payment industry. In your career, in your experience. So the Payments Academy will enable you, thanks to the Payment Fundamental course, to move faster in your career and to deliver exceptional value to your customers. We really did what we could, and now it's of course up to you. We are looking forward to hearing from you after you have taken that course. It has never been so easy to understand and master the fundamentals of payments and payment system, thanks to the Payments Academy's Payments Fundamental course. Thank you very much for your attention.
Well, thank you, Jean-Paul. Really very interesting. And you're absolutely right. It is a matter of a combination of all the elements and content that brings out key seamless interoperability of the payments world at the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, we move now to our second speaker, Simon Lyons, who, as I said, was Head of Ecosystems Engagement and Open Banking. And Simon, what can you tell us now about the open banking environment, given it started 2003, the original Act of Parliament? Or maybe I'm getting confused and it was 2013. But there you go. I need to be educated.
And I think I go back to all of those, John, to PSD1 and PSR1 and FATCA and all those lovely regulations. So first of all, thank you for having me. It's very, very kind of you. I want to give you a bit of an industry overview today to let you know where we're up to. I'm a very, very lucky man. I have a job that I look after two things in open banking for the first standards body in the world. The first one is growing our ecosystem, very much commercially focused, and the really fun bit of the job is to engage with industry to make open banking work. And that's the one which I'd like to focus on, because I think, first of all, strategically, we've got to look at where open banking is now. As John just alluded to then, Elliot just alluded to then, sorry, apologies, there was a real move that open banking was a technical infrastructure play. It was very much about building something that was very complex. We now move across to a commercial world where what we've got to do is we've got all these great APIs, which are a way of interfacing with your bank differently. And we've got all these wonderful technical initiatives, but we've got to make them work. So what does it mean? Where have we gone to? Well, in the UK, we've got the first sovereign government to engage and use open banking in the world. Our own Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs have now gone live with 4 key products: corporation tax, VAT, self-assessment, and PAYE. Now then, very interesting fact with that as well. The numbers of the payments are something I can't share, but they're high. But there's a much more important fact there that I'd like to share with you, which is that there's not been one email of complaint or one question saying, what is this? And what it tells us is something very, very important. It's a key message we've got within payments and within banking, is that the trust is built between the buyer and the seller. The trust that's established between the body we deal with as a member of the public, as a citizen, as our tax authorities would say, and the people we deal with will allow the growth of open banking, will allow the growth of the API ecosystem. I don't really like the cliche phrases, but I think in this case, it's very true. We now have the ability to engage with our banks the same way we do with lots of other parts of our life via APIs, which means they can be in aggregation with other services. So we've got those 4 products working. What other things are happening in open banking? Well, last month there was over 830 million API checks for balances. And on the call today, I can see a couple of familiar names. I'll put that in context for you. People are not sending bank statements and shoeboxes to their accountants. They are not providing physical statements to their lenders to go and get funding. They don't need a long credit history to be able to get asset finance for a digger. They don't need credit history to be able to go and buy a Land Rover. 2 examples which I've seen that are real in the past few weeks. The reason for that is we can be assessed by our bank account, not because it's new, but because it's very, very efficient to get that data. So a key message there is the fact that open banking has solved a great deal of legacy problems for us. On the data side, we have very, very exciting attributes coming. There is a program within open banking called Extended Customer Attributes to be able to use the information in your bank account as part of your identity. That's for attestation, that's for checking. So if Elliot were to buy that jacket and to apply for finance on it, we would need to know who he was and if he could afford it. We could use his bank account to identify him. It's a little bit of fun, but the point is that now we can do that far quicker and more efficiently. When we look at the next stages of open banking, what do we do? Let's look at the big growth use cases. Government, wealth. Wealth management is an enormous high spot for it as well. If you look at the costs that are associated with wealth, they are very, very high for the payments. The insurance industry. And if any of you want to make a donation today to a charity and you were to use the mainline charity funding service, you will find that every single donation has open banking in it. But I want to summarize that in one of the most important things about open banking and about payments. We all live in this bubble. We all live in this bubble of payments, of SEPA, of ISO 20022, of back standard 18, of settlement files, of BAI2. I go back through all of them. I'm old enough and ugly enough to remember that. Open banking doesn't have a name when it's used out there. When you provide your bank account to Xero or Sage, you don't call it open banking, you just give consent to share your data. When you make a payment to HMRC, it says it's called pay by bank transfer. And we're now moving, and it's so important that we're building trust between our relationships, and open banking is becoming mainstream. And I look forward to people being able to learn more about it, to be very confident, and to be able to articulate what the benefits are of open banking so the benefits can be realized by a wider audience. Thank you very much, Elliot. I hope that sums up open banking at the moment.
Really excellent, Simon. Unbelievable how the whole banking world and the environment has changed since my days in short trousers in the 60s. Quite incredible. I now would like to introduce our 3rd speaker. Now, this is a fascinating topic. Matthew Key. Welcome again, Matthew. The whole aspect of biometrics, the fact that people say they don't know what it is, but we're actually using biometrics now and we're not even aware of it. So Matthew, please enlighten us, particularly on the topic of security as regards biometrics and the value that that brings to the user and the wider industry. Thank you, Matthew.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. I think there are some people that I do recognise on the call. Yeah, biometrics are playing a fundamentally important role right now. The problem is I don't think people realise it because it's you're kind of aware of it, but it's not as prominent as I think it should be. And that's only going to increase as hopefully we move forward with the economy and things like the payments on the contactless cards move up to £100 and beyond, I believe. The problem with that is that Obviously, the fraudsters are going to get increasingly active as well, and they already are. So biometrics are going to increasingly play an important role. So we're probably familiar with voice recognition to our banks or to, to a retail store. That's quite common. That's a very common biometric technique. We're probably aware of fingerprint ID, particularly on smartphones, the iPhones and others. We're probably quite aware of that. But actually, did you know there's going to be fingerprint activity and biometric activity on payment cards coming very soon? There's about 20 trials going across the world. Biometrics are playing a leading vital role in the NHS today, where clinicians will have to use some sort of biometric identity to access confidential patient records. And of course, there's a massive move at the government at the moment with some sort of vaccine certification, and we think biometrics is going to play a role in that. So it's really important, and it's only going to grow. We're probably aware of, biometric passports at the airport. We're probably aware of that. But did you know that there are 1.2 billion biometric passports around the world? I understand that we've got some Indian colleagues on the call. There is a massive program of biometric identity out there, which is called the Aadhaar program. I hope I've pronounced that kind of right. Which is about 1.3 billion people. 99% of the population are using biometrics, fingerprints mainly, and iris kind of recognition. And they often will use two. That's called multimodal, two techniques. So we're developing in the Payments Academy a course on biometrics. That's going to be the first for me of 3. Digital currencies is going to be the second one. That is really, really hot at the moment. So we're developing a course on that and how biometrics are going to play in that role and the future of government-backed digital currencies. So biometrics are here to stay. And we really recognize about how important they are. But do we know the other types of biometrics that are out there? So we've done voice, we know about face, we probably know about finger, but did you know about vein techniques? Did you know about typing? It's just the speed that you type, the pressure of typing, that's a biometric ID. Sometimes the way that you walk, heartbeat, that is very personal, of course, clearly, but quite intrusive. The one that's picking up great popularity at the moment is called ocular biometric. So that's about the eye. It's about the shape of the eye. It's about the pigmentation of the eye. It's about how much the pupil takes. That's clearly very personal to people. So lots and lots of different, techniques out there that we're going to take you through. We've got the security issues as well, but there are ways that we can get through that. There's big issues around, deep fake identities and people using that. That's why they're looking at liveness tests when you're signing up to something. I just signed up to a bank account, a smart app bank account in the last few weeks, and they did a liveness test on me and a voice test on me. So they took 2 biometric things for me. So there are security solutions out there, and I've got a lot of pals. I think a couple of them on the call are experts in that area. So the last kind of subjects really are, in terms of the course, is obviously regulation drives the adoption of biometrics, and we'll have a look at that right across the world. Then technology trends. There are some fantastic companies, some of which are based in London actually, that have got some really great technology out there. I'm going to take you through in the course, I'm going to take you through the status payments. So thank you very much indeed. Back to Elliot.
Thank you, Matthew. I think we may have just lost you for a fraction there. But nevertheless, given that we are sending a recording out to all attendees, hopefully we'll be able to overcome that little internet technical glitch. Our final speaker from our guests today is Hilary Smith Allen, who I introduced earlier. And as I mentioned, Hilary, I beg your pardon, is the executive lead at Supertech. And now, just before Hilary starts, I owe her a humble apology because I didn't quite get it right as regards what she's saying. So Hilary, you can slap my wrist afterwards. Sincere apologies. Yes, she is talking about skills within the payments environment, but given her job within the business community in the West Midlands, Hilary will be talking to us about payments, which skills and education are of course needed, but payments and the bigger picture. Hilary, I hope I've got that right, and we all look forward to listening to your words of wisdom.
Thanks, Elliot, and thanks to the others. Yes, I'm the non-technical contributor for this afternoon, but no less pleased to be here. As Elliot has explained, I represent Supertech. Supertech is a cluster organisation founded in the West Midlands, which is Birmingham and Coventry orientation for our international guests. We haven't got a decent football team, so I can't anchor it any better than that for you. However, the important thing about Supertech is that we have this umbrella application. So fintech falls within our remit, but also law tech, prop tech, and many of the other techs affecting and disrupting the skills needs of the base of the business and professional financial services sector. And we have this umbrella approach because business and financial services is a major part of the economy here. The economy itself in the West Midlands is equivalent to more than some of the devolved nations that make up the United Kingdom. And within that context, financial services and professional services makes up a third of that. So it's a massive employer. It's a massive number of firms, and it's a big part of the contributor for the economic region. And hence, as people, organisations, we are really bothered and concerned about ensuring that the skills base is here in order to enable and support the growth of these businesses. And it matters because, as Ron Khalifa laid down in the UK recent review of fintech, there's prizes to be won here, prizes to be won for people and for firms and for the whole of the country. And those prizes come in the form of jobs, so high value, well paid jobs. And how do we make sure that those jobs are available and accessible to a broader range of people and our citizens is through skills and through education and training. And trade, similarly, you can't trade if you don't have quality exports and products, and people are the fundamental basis of this. And then lastly is about inclusion, and particularly financial inclusion and payments, making sure that people can access and or make sure through the payment mechanisms, etc., that there is both fair access, but also some of the open banking and innovation to drive forward greater social inclusion through financial services. So they're the kind of broader prizes to be won. And hence the recommendations that came forward, is not unsurprising, had a skills theme within that from Ron Khalifa in his recommendations. However, it's not to underplay the massive amounts of work gone into it, but it's quite easy to write, there must be a skills response to meet these challenges in order to realise these global opportunities and advance the UK and build on the success of fintech of the past. It's very easy to write these things that FE should do better and HE should respond, and there must be short courses out there. But frankly, this is such a fast moving space that if we wait for the Department of Education to A, get its head around it, and B, to put policy things in place and then make it possible in a regional sense and beyond, we may be waiting a little bit of time, and it'll probably be largely out of date by the time we get there. So it is a collective effort. It is the necessity of the ecosystem to bring together, but it is also the context within which activities such as the Payments Academy are launching, and therefore are pivotal to ensuring that there is a skills base going forwards that is directly relevant and meeting the needs of business. The other thing I wanted just to bring here is sort of, you know, the why now, but why here is really proud that that John and Andy and the team and Elliot, etc., are largely anchored in the West Midlands. They're in my patch of Supertech, and that makes a lot of sense, because the last thing that Khalifa did is really focus on place, that people are fundamentally in a place, that it's important that they have access to both the quality of life, but also the skills and the progression that they need. And that within that, Birmingham was recognised as an established hub. And beyond that, payments is a specialism within our particular remit as an established hub. So it makes complete and utter sense to be driving this out of this region. We're incredibly pleased that you're launching, and that our mission as Supertech is really to promote the West Midlands and to leverage the opportunities and the businesses that we have here and champion those, but also to do it in a way which is relevant to the UK and globally exporting the overall message and the skills and the people. Because if nothing from the last year has shown that place is fundamentally challenged, and that everybody is everywhere and nowhere, but they do land when they need to have a house, and they do land when they really need to be able to access skills and technology and be able to move forward businesses. So I'm delighted to be here. Congratulations, and I look forward to seeing how we can work together going forwards.
Hilary, thank you very much, and I'm glad that I got the title of your very interesting talk correct. We now come on to a very interesting part before I open the forum to question and answers. We're going to devolve to a very good colleague of mine, John Doyle. Very briefly, I've known John, actually I've known him for 3 or 4 years, but I never actually met him until the middle of, I think it was 2019. And I've had a fascinating journey with John. There's nothing John doesn't know. He's incredibly creative, and working with John has been extremely refreshing for me personally. I feel quite dwarfed by his expertise, but I guess I can live with that. John is going to talk to us about the actual website itself, talk us through it, and I think John may touch on the platform as well. But whatever, ladies and gentlemen, you get from John, it's going to be absolutely worthwhile. And thank you so much, John. I know you're a busy gentleman, the CEO of the payments business, but delighted that you're going to educate us and the audience on the Academy platform and website. So John, looking forward now to hearing your input. Thank you.
Right, thanks, Elliot. Clearly, everyone now knows that Elliot lies, which is fine, and I'm very grateful for what he said. Yeah, I worked with the web designer and developer, and actually developed the Academy website, and we've done it in such a way which is to make it very, very easy for people to use it. The idea being that we get the authors actually to get involved themselves in the website itself, building the courses. And the interesting thing about the way we've built it is that you actually build your course in the website. So you don't build it somewhere else and then bring it over, which you can do if you want to, but primarily you would go into the website, you would sign on as an author, you would decide what course you're going to develop, and we would then guide you through the process of building your course with all the various lessons, the topics, the images that you want to use, videos if you want to use them, and all the other kind of things that you want to put into a course, as well as, for example, the Q&A, the questions and answers, because there is the ability to test people as you go through the course. The other interesting thing about our courses, which I just wanted to highlight, is that our courses tend to have no end. So they're not 5 lessons and that's it. You have to pay again for another course. Our courses are designed to sort of grow as the industry grows and change as the industry changes, so that we add modules to courses. to be able to provide new information, be able to, we would rewrite certain modules if legislation changes, regulation changes, and if the competitive market warrants it. So the idea behind it is to keep right bang up to date with the information so that the people who are taking the course can use it, one, to initially learn, which is the primary purpose, and then second, once they've learnt it, they can stay in touch with the topic and they can see how it changes over a period of time. And the final thing I wanted to say about our courses is built into the course is the ability for the author to be able to manage groups. So you could actually have a group of students who get together and who decide that they want to study together, and the author can then be, if you like, the lecturer, and can provide Zoom information, meetings to keep people up to date with what's going on. So it's a very interactive course, which is what makes it quite unique in the marketplace. These are not courses that you buy, you do it, and then you forget about it. These are courses that you buy and you do it, and then you stay in touch for as long as that particular item, topic, is relevant in the marketplace. And Jean-Paul has written an excellent course for us to be able to see it. So I just want to quickly show you a little bit about the website. So this is the website. We're very proud of the fact that it's learning from the industry experts. We don't have trainers, people who are professional trainers. The people who write our courses are people like Jean-Paul, like myself, who have got years of experience in the payments industry and who use our experience to develop these courses to make them relevant for you. So this is the information that you would get. Where you've got the home. So you've got our most popular courses. You can take a Microsoft Office accreditation course where you'd be accredited by Microsoft at the end of it, which is a good course to have. Learning Excel, Outlook, Word, PowerPoint, and so on. And you can do that sort of thing. So you'll be able to, as I said, you'll be able to access this information as a visitor to the site. If you feel like you've got a course, so anybody on the call that it feels that they have a course which they would like to share with us and have us publish for you, by all means do. Just contact the Academy Dean, who will be speaking after me, and he'll be able to help you become an author in the now what I'm going to do is just show you first of all as I said how easy it is. So this is what we use to create courses. So it's very, very simple. So we go into the courses part and we just simply, in the normal way that you would do with any kind of WordPress site, is you basically set up a new course. You add a new course and you decide who the author is, what category it is, what tags and things like that. And then when you've done that, you then go into the area here, which is the lessons. And here we can see the lessons of Jean-Paul's course. So all of the lessons here, all the various modules that he has in his course, which are very good. So for example, module 4 goes into payment engines, the integration to bank IT landscapes, which is very important. So how do you integrate a payment engine into your landscape, which is very important. The different types of account balance management that there is. There's a course overview, which you can set up. But what I'm illustrating here again is that this is how easy it is to set up a course. So you've created a course, You then create lessons. So you just simply, up here, just add a new lesson into the system, and you then write in the lesson information that you need for that lesson itself. We'll have a quick look at one of the modules. So there's the lesson page, and there's the content is actually hidden because he doesn't want it to be seen by everybody. So therefore, and then that's as easy as it is to go into the lesson. The other thing you can do is you can take your course, which is the whole thing. You can divide that down into lessons, and you can subdivide that into topics. So the different topics that you have, you can say, right, well, you know, we'll look at open banking as a course. We'll look at the implementation of open banking as a lesson. And then within that lesson, we will have 2 or 3 topics about how to implement open banking, use cases of open banking, and things like that. So you can structure a course however you want it to be. And as I said, when you create a lesson and you create a topic, you can add in video, anything that you want to have involved in the course. And then finally, the other thing that is interesting, well, I find it interesting. You might not find it interesting, but the final thing that's interesting is that you can load up quizzes, and these quizzes will test the student on the information that he's studied in the course, in the lesson, and will test his retention of that information. And if you want to, as an author, you can also set it up in such a way as to say, unless they get a pass mark on the Q&A, on the quiz, they can't actually proceed to the next lesson. And the idea behind that is to stop people whizzing through all the lessons and saying, yeah, I've done it, can I have my certificate, please? When we hand over a certificate of completion, we know the student has actually studied the course, has actually taken the quizzes, and has actually passed and got a suitable suitable score, and then they get their certificate in order to say that they have qualified on the course, which is very important. So, and it's the same thing for all of our courses, including the Microsoft courses, and we hope to add many, many more courses over the next few years with all of these. So that's a very brief overview. So the other thing that you can do, just to give you an idea of the kind of things you can do, is you can set assignments, so that you can say to at the end of a lesson, you can say that, okay, before you go on to the next lesson, you have to have watched a video on YouTube about the topic, which maybe the author put together, or maybe the industry standard, or Chris Skinner or someone like that has actually put together. So you can actually assign people assignments, as you can do in any kind of academic course. And then you can, as I said, you can organize groups, which is very important. So you can actually form yourself into a group, which is very, very interesting to situations where a company buys a course to be delivered to a number of different people in the company. The company may benefit from actually bringing those people together in, say, let's say groups of 10 into a group, and that group studying together as if it was an online classroom. So it's a very versatile vehicle that we've built here. And the idea behind it is, as I said, is to try and give the author as much control over the course as possible, because it's, after all, it's their course. It's not my course, it's their course. And they stand or die on the basis of what people think of their course. So that's a very brief overview, because I just wanted to show you how easy it is to create it. So what you would do is you would have a course which you would create, like ISO 27022. Then you have split that course into different topics in terms of breaking it down so it's more manageable for people to study and to learn. And then finally you would create tasks, quizzes, and you can, as I said, give people homework where they can do assignments, and then the quizzes can be used to determine whether or not people have assimilated the information properly before they move on to the next topic, which is very important. So I urge you to sign up to one of our courses.
Oh, thank you, John. That was excellent. And I don't think, bearing in mind you've heard John espouse the website and how it works, etc. I was lying, if I may say, John. You do a great job, and thank you again. I can tell you that the website it is indeed very easy to use. I'm certainly no IT expert, but I can use it, and if I'm able to use it, you know what, anyone can use it. It's fantastic. Just before I open the Q&A, which I'm going to do in just a second, I do actually want to introduce one further colleague of ours who's truly excellent, and that is, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Mattia Parati. Mattia, he speaks excellent English, better than my English, and he's from Italy. And Mattia is the Dean of the Academy. He is very much involved in the courses, the timetable of those courses, speaking to the authors of those courses who will present in most occasions, and the actual content. Now, Matthew's made the point to me, and he's absolutely right, and I mentioned it earlier, that the Academy is very much a link between the payments industry and technology and academia and vice versa. And given Matthew's academic background, I think it would be very good, Matthew, if you wouldn't mind just giving us some pointers in our audience as to why this is a little different. We are different. There's lots of educational forums out there, industry forums, but the Academy intentionally is unique in what we're trying to do and what we offer. Mattia, I'll be delighted just to have a few minutes, please, for our audience before we go to question and answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elliot, for the introduction, and I'll try and keep it brief. But the idea when we all came together with Elliot and colleagues was to create something that really was able to bridge that sometimes large link or missing piece of information that was there between the academia and the industrial world. As Simon Lyons was saying, you know, these new initiatives are coming along, and as Matthew Key was saying, there is constant development in technologies, and most of the time, as Jean-Paul was saying, the fundamental principles of the way a payment works have been there for the last 20 years. Nonetheless, if there is that fundamental payment knowledge there is still new and upcoming initiatives and or topics that are not being answered in the space. And with industrial partners, we want to provide a link between that missing knowledge that might be there in the market. And it's very important for us as an academy to interface with Hillary from Supertech and other innovators and other accelerators and other aggregators to be able to understand and capture from the market what people understand, what people don't understand, and what people would like to understand and would like to learn. And if we are able to do that, we can interface and mediate with the recruitment market and provide our students with not only meaningful knowledge and topics, but also with the opportunity to satisfy a need that is very much in there and required by many industry sectors within the payment landscape. So I think that summarizes the reason why the Payments Academy is trying to position itself in between academia and the industry. And it is very, very important for us to interface with both parties to be able to create a very objective and very deep overview of what's happening in the industry and the new and upcoming knowledge that we would like, people would like to uptake and learn better. And as Jean-Paul was saying, it's very, very hard to navigate a space which might not have all academically or topic-wise all of the information readily available. So that's what we would like to do. And thank you very much for joining our webinar today.
Matthew, thank you. In the interest of time, I'm going to go straight to Q&A, and I've had I've got two questions that have come up from our audience, but maybe I could just start it off, and a question to Simon, if I may, Simon. On open banking, without you breaching any confidentialities, this is really from a personal issue. I'm never quite sure, in a sense, open banking, all these initiatives, all these great ideas, they come to the fore, they come to the market, new offerings, new entrants, allowed to do the things that they couldn't do many years ago or even a few years ago. How does that work with the regulator? The regulator's got to catch up with what's going on, or is it the other way around? I mean, at the end of the day, more products, more services, more providers means more connectivity, more linkage, more connectivity, to me, says, oh my goodness, more risk. The regulators, the regulator has to be there. That's quite a challenge, isn't it, in the sense of chicken and egg? What comes first?
Well, your vast difference, Elliot, that you've got to call out is the clues in the name. It's open banking standards. And if you look at every single other regulation that's been delivered by banking, it's been about a level of compliance. Whereas the difference with open banking, the one thing you get is you get a standard to achieve. Now, is that a regulatory standard? Well, there are 9 that are mandated to go and achieve that, and then built a set of standards for people to adhere to. So if you want to come into the club, you want to join the directory, you have to work to these standards. Now, that isn't unusual. If you look across the card world, there is absolute parity in standards on every single card connection right across the planet. From every single Visa issue or MasterCard issue, they'll have VCF4 and TDF, I believe it's called. So the balance really is that this is embryonic at the moment. It's only 3 years old, live in market as well, and it's working its way through. There is review at the moment. There is changes going to be made as well. But I think standards is its strongest attribute. And if we look at what's happening across Europe, where we have many others, Berlin, we have PRETA, we have different authorities across the world, it's competition. So we're adhering to the regulatory standards of each country and each regime. And then what we're doing is we're trying to create a standard for people to achieve. So I actually think the two work very, very well in harmony. I think one complements the other. I really do. And multiple standards means that we get better and better and better by the minute, because if you just had one, then there's no incentive, there's no innovation, there's no hope. You have to have competition to drive improvement.
Thank you, Simon, so much. That's cleared it up for me. I'm going to go to gentleman Nigel Bridgeton. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Nigel. He's got 2 questions, which I think actually are probably for John Doyle, given they're to do with the Academy website. John, the first question, you may be able to see it there, is on the website. We do use the term quizzes. Nigel asked, why don't we use the term exams? And the other question for our audience, also from Nigel, was, have we considered marking assignments as a method of understanding if the student or the attendee or the pupil has demonstrated themselves that they've achieved the required pass in order to get accreditation? So some interesting points there, John, if you're able to answer.
Yeah, no, both very, very good questions, actually. The first one is, why did we choose quizzes and not exams? Is because it's less academic. So we didn't want people to feel that they have to pass an exam in order to get on. So we decided to follow the industry norm now, which is to call these things quizzes and to have a bit of fun with them as well at the same time. So it was just to make it less formal, less restrictive, but quizzes are essentially exams, and we could call them exams if people wanted to, which is fine. The second thing is, you're absolutely right on the assignments. That is down to the author. So what we say is, it's up to the author to decide what he wants to do with the assignments. So he can set an assignment if he wants to for his students, and if he wants to, he can mark it if that's how he feels that he needs to judge the course, and that's not a problem. And he can then do away with the quizzes and just have the assignments and judge people on the fact if they've passed their assignment or not in the same way. So that's an alternative for the author, but it's specifically for the author to decide. What we've built, as I said before, is an engine which is flexible for trying to meet everyone's needs and not be prescriptive about how people actually do what they want to do. So, we have authors who have said to us, well, actually, I don't want to write lessons. I just want to deliver a whole load of lectures on video. And is that all right? Absolutely. We've got no problem with that either. So if that's how you feel is the best way of getting your message across, then by all means do it that way. So the idea is, I said, behind the way we built the website is because we want to make it very flexible, very, very usable, easy to use by people, but also so that it can be adapted to any training education situation that we need it to be able to deal with, because we don't want to disadvantage people. But we have to take into account the fact that hopefully our courses will be taken by people who live and work in other countries, and so we have to start thinking about languages and things like that. Well, what we've built is we can accommodate that. I'm not quite sure how we check the language to make sure it's all right, but I'm sure we'll find a way around it. My French is pretty good, but that's about it. So the answer to your question is flexibility, and the idea behind it is to be able to easily customize for a course.
Thank you, John.
May I add 2 cents, please, on it? Since I have already started using the tool, it's really powerful and indeed extremely flexible. So the quizzes, it provide a very great tool to help students stay focused. So, for example, in our course, we decided after every 3-4 slides, there are 1 or 2 questions, just to ensure they are not difficult, because we also want people, of course, to take the time and to really get the value from what we have created. So we have ongoing quizzes that you can take while you are going through the courses. And at the end of each module, that's also possible for every author, you can add a quiz, for example, of 10, 15, 20 questions, where you will, enable the student to review all the key concepts that were explained during the course. And at the end of the whole course, no, during the module, sorry. So you have a quiz at the end of a module, and then you have a quiz at the end of the whole course. You can call it an exam consisting of, for example, 40, 50 questions, and where you don't see the responses, it's really like an exam, and you have 60 to 90 minutes that you can take to pass that. And if you pass it, you can also get a certificate. So the tool is incredibly flexible and powerful. And I think authors will have different, approaches. But the good thing is that I think anyone can express himself with what the tool is enabling us to do. So
thank you,
yeah.
Jean-Paul. That's very, very good of you. Very good input. I've got a few more questions, but I'd like to just ask Matthew Key, if I may, Matthew, a question, pretty generic. Just on the whole biometrics environment, the development in the UK, it's interesting. Some people have said to me, and we've spoken about this, they don't know about it, they don't know enough about it, and the fact that we both agreed, and I said earlier, people don't often know they're using it. Coming at airports and passports, absolutely right. Voice control, and now the iris of one's eye. How far is the UK compared to our friends in continental Europe or other industrialized countries like the US or Australia? How far or not, as the case may be, is the UK in rolling out the whole biometrics initiative to not just the financial and payments environment, but to across the whole commercial economic environment, if you like? Are we ahead of the game? Are we doing all right, or are we perhaps lagging behind? Seems to me, from what you say, I think we may be ahead of the game, but I'd like to hear your expert opinion, please.
Yeah, it does vary, actually. We've certainly got the technology. That's a plus point. We've certainly got the regulation, but quite a few countries in Europe already have advantage in that they have, identity cards, which is quite widespread across Europe. So in terms of ID, they've already got that, and they can move to a biometric quite quickly. I pointed out the Indian Aadhaar project. That's absolutely a trailblazer with 1.3 or a billion people registered with this multimodal. So I think it's fingerprints and iris scans. So they're very much ahead. It partially depends on the regulation in the US. You might say that they were sort of slightly behind. So from a technology point of view, we're absolutely there. From a regulation point of view, we're absolutely there. But the British have always been a bit odd about, having a national identity scheme for, understandable privacy concerns. So that's how I view it at the moment.
And Matthew, just one final thing on that. In the UK itself, does there tend to be concentration of the whole biometrics requirement on one particular industry, payments, finance, or is it just healthcare? Is it just, I don't know, the hotel industry? What I'm saying is all these industries require the whole aspect of security, making payments for one thing and another, goods and services. That cuts across the whole economy. However, is there one industry that perhaps at the moment biometrics is focusing on in the UK more than others?
Well, I don't know if Hilary would answer that as well from her super tech knowledge, but I would say that financial services are kind of leading the way. Now, there are some very obvious drivers behind that, security being one of them, and trying to avoid fraud. So I would say that, but it does play into all industries. I suppose what I would see, the way that you would define it, is the higher the transaction value in a particular industry, then you're much more likely to have a more mature biometrics background. You don't particularly need it, for a flower stall, let's say. But obviously in the banking world, or anything of high value, then biometrics are increasingly going to play a role.
Thank you very much. I'm conscious that we've run a little bit over time, but I think it's a very interesting discussion. And for those attendees, and we've got quite a few who wish to say we'll continue, I have a few questions from the audience, but given your response, Matthew, Hilary, not wishing to put you on the spot, but given what you said, and you look at me with a wry smile, just to get you back, you see, for what you said before. No, in all seriousness, Hilary, given what you're doing, you're speaking to people in your part of the UK on the whole aspect of payments and everything about it. And that covers many, many things. My goodness, look what Jean-Paul told us about fundamentals of payments. Is there anything such as biometrics or open banking or an element of whatever that tends to be the key focus point, the key irritant, or the key enjoyable factor, if there is such a word, that you have come across with the people you're speaking to, given I'm sure it must be a cross scale of all sorts of different industries, bearing in mind where you are in the UK. I wonder if you could just give us some background on that.
I will try, albeit I'm going to challenge the premise probably straight away, as is my style, which is to say I'm really enjoying the specificity of this conversation, because typically the engagements we have with businesses, be that within the FS or broader space, is we know it when we see it. We want some of that. What is that? So it's actually, I think, not to be overlooked, the ability to actually identify topics and areas in itself is moving the conversation forwards, because it is a fast-paced arena and people know, and they're trying to get ahead of what is the next thing. And as an education provider, if you're in an FE and HE, and I spoke about that before, you're trying to play catch up in order to service industry, and it's already changed. So actually, at a macro level, the skills piece is incredibly hard, and what you end up with is quite generic conversations and fitting for the levers that exist. So if you take apprenticeships as one of the main interventions for meeting an industry level of specific need, I'm not aware that there's a payment specific apprenticeship pathway yet. There's a general emphasis on, and what you end up is these conversations with boys go, I want a bit of that and a bit of that, but the standard's not there, I can't leverage that, I don't know how to pay for it, and just all of the ducks don't quite get in a row. And then you flip that for the individual, who also is like, well, I don't know whether to do an apprenticeship or not, and I can't get the employer to take me on, and these things just take years. And actually what you need is something which is a lot more nimble, a lot more rapid response, a lot more able to be specific and create that always on revolution, except these things are not static, because a lot of our education system is incredibly static and therefore out of date as it goes. So that's what I'm taking from this conversation. And it's actually really enjoyable to get to some like actual specifics that you could then go and be a bit more challenging to HE, etc. and specifics. Yeah. And I think where we do need to draw in and is a bit around Matthew's, and it's great to actually have somebody who is so embedded in academia, because that is the forefront of knowledge by definition. And they're working on the most exciting applications yet, but it's disconnected and it's not yet. That's where other sectors do better, is arguably those connections, and then getting it into a rapid response and all the things that go before then, how do you get that throughput?
Thank you very much. No, that's interesting. I have a further question from a gentleman by the name of, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Santosh Rajagopalan. Santosh, I hope I've got that right. I think this may be for Matthew and possibly John, but let's start with you, Matthew, because given you're the Payments Academy Dean, I think you'll have some ideas. And the question is, some of the biggest, the whole industry is under tremendous change at the moment, and that involves training. So our friend Santos says, good timing for the launch. But I think his key question is, where does the Payments Academy see itself in 3 years? For example, as part of our development of new courses and lots of other interesting industry initiatives, is our aim to try and connect, literally connect with all the key payment professionals across the globe. I'm not quite sure how you define a payment professional, but I mean, I do get what Santosh is saying. Wouldn't it be incredible if the Academy was a central hub for all key providers and suppliers and users in the industry? So where do we see ourselves, Mattia? And John, if you want to come in on this as well, please do. Mattia,
Thank you,
I'll
Elliot.
start with you.
Thank you, Elliot. I think I can try and start getting the conversation rolling in terms of this question. And I think it's very, very appropriate given the way that we want to position ourselves within the industry. And I think that we're showing our short and long-term objectives in regards to our positioning with key partnerships such as that of Supertech. We want to do exactly that. We want to start on local scales and try to be connecting to industry and academic providers to create and to echo the needs of the payment professional industry, first within the West Midlands, then perhaps nationally, and then definitely internationally. But with that being said, we are already launching and establishing key partnerships across the globe with our courses, trying to actually get our courses to larger organizations that need perhaps tailored courses or that want some of our off-the-shelf courses. So the Payments Academy, I believe, in 3 years would like to be a recognized player in the payment space as both a provider of right off-the-shelf basic academic courses, but also very cutting edge and industry relevant courses. And in that respect, we're positioning ourselves, well, we're trying to gather authors such as Jean-Paul that can provide the academic background to the fundamentals of payments and the fundamentals of different payment, let's say, principles and systems, and then take that one step further, partner with industry partners and dive deeper into the new and upcoming initiatives, such as through the partnership with Matthew Key on biometrics and digital currencies, and again with trying to divulge the idea of open banking, PSD2, ISO 20022, and other new and upcoming topics of interest for the industry.
Thank you very much. I'm conscious we have gone over, and so over time, that is. So we're going to wrap up very shortly. But I just have a generic question that I've seen has come up on the screen here. You haven't mentioned Bitcoin. No, we haven't mentioned Bitcoin. And I'm going to throw the question out from a generic perspective. My daughter is very involved in Bitcoin. When she explains to me, I'm totally lost. I don't know who in the panel wants to take it, but maybe Jean-Paul in your payments fundamental aspect.
No, Simon's your man.
Simon, okay, delighted. Simon, where does Bitcoin fit into all of this?
It doesn't.
It doesn't, not at all.
So the theory of CDBC, the theory of cryptocurrencies, the theory of everything, I don't think it's actually mature enough yet. I don't think there is a right answer to this point, but I take everybody back to Hawala, which is a very, very old method of making payments. It's thousands of years old as well. The point about a digital currency is it's not settled. There is no bank settlement. Jean-Paul suggested earlier that all settlement is just the same through banks. Every dollar has to go through a bank. It's a bill. It's a promise of bill. It's basically an IOU. Every single CHAPS payment, SWIFT payment, ACH, FedWire, ABA, CHAPS, whatever they may be, they are all settled through a bank account. A Bitcoin payment, we can move value from me to Hillary and no bank will know about it. Now then, if you make it a central bank digital currency, it's not a digital bank currency. It's just a currency. Just a different name for it as well. So any of the panel want to go and have a look at it, go and have a look for Hawala. You'll have to excuse me. I'm afraid I have to leave. We've run a little bit over. I have a call I meant to join 2 minutes ago. Can I thank you all for letting me on? and I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks, folks.
Thank you, Simon.
Thanks, Simon.
I'm going to wrap up now. I just want to say, before I hand over to our CEO of the Academy, Andy Collishaw, I want to say a big thank you to Simon and all the team. Hilary, thank you. Jean-Paul, Matthew, thank you, and John for your input. I hope I haven't left anyone out. Please feel free to look at our website. There'll be a recording of this. Attendees, you can get in touch with Matthew and myself. We look forward to working with you and providing the knowledge and the value that we all require in order to really encompass ourselves within the new payments environment, given how quickly everything is developing. And on that, I'm going to hand over, as I say, for a very brief summing up, if you like, by Andy Collishaw, who is the Chief Executive Officer of our Academy. Andy, delighted to hand over to you.
Thanks, Elliot. And obviously, thank you to everyone that's played the part today. It's been really useful. Hopefully, everybody's got some value from it. I guess in a very brief summing up, what we're doing here is building a community, and we've shared an awful lot of knowledge in a fairly short space of time here, but please keep looking, keep coming back, because the idea is to bring together people that have knowledge and experience with people that have a desire and a need to learn, and that's really what we're about. There'll be lots going on, and it will develop and grow, and we need your involvement, your input, whether that's as an author, as a participant, or as somebody who wants to learn. Just keep coming back, keep talking to us, and let's build this thing together, because there's lots of benefits for everybody out there. I've been involved in training for 30 years now, and it doesn't change. The drivers remain the same, the benefits remain the same. So let's just keep working at it and pull this thing together going forward, because everybody will benefit. So thanks again to everybody. Thanks, Elliot, for chairing it, and all the panelists and the attendees as well. I'll wrap it up at that, because obviously we have overrun, but thanks everyone.
Thank you from me and the team, and as Andy said, the most important people, the attendees. Really appreciate you joining us. Yes, we went over a little bit, but I think you'll agree, a fascinating discussion. We look forward to working with you and together increasing our knowledge. Thank you again.
Thank you.
I wish you a very good afternoon, and I think probably those in Australia who I know have joined us, a good night. Thank you.